What's up, everyone? Welcome to Chicks and Salsa. I am Megan Price. I got Carrie Johnson right next to me. We got Candy down below, and we have a very special guest today. We have Sean from the Lakers Fast Break. We know Sean through Gerald, a very good friend of mine who was on the NBA carousel. All right, go ahead, Sean.
Oh, thank you so much, Chicks. And, I just want to thank Carrie, Candy, Megan, and, if Jennifer had power in her house, she would be with us right now. She's dealing with a storm. But I'm just very thankful because I wanted to pay tribute to somebody who was the biggest force in my life. And she's responsible for a lot of the good qualities and the good person I am. And unfortunately, she passed away Thursday, January 4th. This is her. This is my mother. That's Carolyn Janine Grice. I'm not sure if the picture is good enough or not, but um, she was a beautiful woman. Um, she got married at 20 years old, became pregnant with me at 21. Um, I, ladies, I shouldn't be alive right now because as a child I was very sick.
Oh, wow.
I I was losing a lot of weight. I had lost about 14 pounds in 2 weeks in March of 1990. I was 5 years old. Um, Originally diagnosed with tonsillitis. Um, my mother was infuriated by what was going on, and so she took her almost lifeless sons to the doctor's office. And from the stories everyone has told me, including a couple of the women in that office, she barged right into his office, put my body right up next to his, and said, "Is this tonsillitis to you?"
Mm.
And so he asked what hospital you want to go to, and my mother, in for whatever reason, chose the best children's hospital um, around. And when I was in the emergency room, the doctor told my mother that if I had to give a certificate to the sickest child that's ever come into my ward, it would be your son.
Oh, my
He's
gosh.
he is very sick, and we're not sure if he's going to make it. He is so sick that I have to drip rate insulin into his body because I'm afraid that if I push insulin into him, he will go into organ failure.
Oh,
Now,
God.
to put it into perspective, I know we used kind of different conversion formulas. You guys use imperial, we use the metric system. To put it into perspective, my blood sugar was over 3,000 deciliters,
Oh, my
and
gosh.
yeah, it was grave. It was extremely grave, and that woman saved my life, and I owe her that. I owe her that. So she was with me at my birth, and I was with her for her last breath. I think through thick and thin, you can't get any uh, black and white than that.
Right.
Um, Not only that, she's an inspiration to me. She started off the first half of her life as a doting mother and a loving wife, and then she became what I call the lioness of Lakeshore Securities. My mom had a brilliant not mind for numbers, and not no formal education with university or college. She did it all herself. No
Wow.
tutoring, no internet at that time. She basically just had her know-how and the books in front of her, and she became one of the most successful certified financial planners around. Became a partner at one of the most prestigious security firms. Accumulated a book of over 75 million just pre-pandemic. This woman is just a powerful force. She was an inspiration to all of us, and not only that, um, not only was she beautiful on the outside, she was one of the most beautiful people you'd ever want to know. Just a couple of stories. Um, she was at a party, and her niece is at the same party, and her name is Jenny. And Jenny walked up to Jan and said, "Oh, Jan, that's a beautiful scarf you have." And Jan took it off and put it on her and said, "It looks just as beautiful on you as it does on me." And
Aww.
that was my mom in a nutshell. It was unattachment to material things, even though she was often thought of as the most stylish woman in the office. It was about, she was beautiful on the inside, and she just wanted to express that on the outside, and she passed that on to her two boys. And I know she would be proud of us right now. And I know if I told her, "Mom, I'm gonna brag about you," she'd be like, "Come on, Sean." Like, but that was her. And I just can't thank the chicks here enough for letting me express how just beautiful she was to me. And
No
she
problem.
always will be. She always will be.
That's okay. We're so glad that you have a platform that you can come out and talk with us about it, because we've all experienced that. So definitely we understand, and just what a beautiful way to keep her memory going and keep talking about her. So we're so thankful for that.
And we're
Well, she
thankful that
lives.
you started your life
Go
way
ahead.
back then, so that we could sit here and talk to you now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This story,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And her beauty shines through you, Sean, and will continue with every breath that you take. So her legacy is now shining brightly because of you.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, chicks. You're
You're
awesome.
welcome.
Of course. We've all been through it, like Megan said, and it's not easy. And and everybody, grief is the very individualistic type of thing that you have to go through, and nobody can tell you what's right or wrong, or how to go through it, or what you're going to feel. Like, you might feel one thing one day and something different even 5 minutes from now, and it's okay. And that's the one thing I guess I would pass on to our audience, is that it's okay to not be okay.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
Absolutely.
agree.
I shared this with Sean prior to going live. I was told that grief is just the excess love that was never able to be expressed, and
right.
while your person was there, so it has to have somewhere to go. And it is a true blessing to have someone that you have loved so immensely that there's part of that still not expressed.
I agree, Carrie. And I think that's really important to note, because before we went on, Carrie mentioned something that one of my close friends did, and that that because you have so much gratitude and love for that person, it's going to make the grief twice as hard. That's okay, because you just got to prepare yourself for that.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that just made y'all laugh, but I just choked on my water on camera.
We have to send 911 to you, but
I'm so sorry. Y'all were saying something beautiful, and I'm over here choking.
well, I mean, there's comic relief in that. I mean, that was the ability to bring it back lighthearted and bring a smile to all of us.
Just
Sean,
like
is
my
any-
mom brought a smile to him all these years. Megan's
Absolutely.
for all of us.
Well, Sean, please know that all of us and our viewers wish you condolences, and know that you are very loved, and it is very evident your mother loved you for the fact that you were sitting in front of us. A mother knows, and a mother saved you, and your mother is has you as living proof of her legacy.
For sure.
Candy, we're going to now kind of bring it back to the sports world. Not that this has not been a part of it, but we also wanted to honor Sean's mother. But Candy, you said you had a shout out you wanted to bring to the table.
as a Big Ten girl, like I am, most of you know, I have to give kudos, even though it wasn't my team that won. It was the Michigan Wolverines. They were national champions last night. They went 15-0 and then won the national championship. And they won it like it wasn't even a real close game. They actually won it pretty convincingly. So I have to give them a lot of credit, because all these people that were doubting, should they be in, should they not be in, who should be in, who shouldn't be in, this was their 12th national championship. They are the winningest program in college football. And you got to give kudos and the reason why I really want to give them kudos, I guess, is with all the adversity that they had this year. If you think about how many times Harbaugh was, oh, you're not coaching this game because you have this going on. And, oh, you're not coaching the end of the season because you have this going on. And you didn't coach Ohio State game. And they had all of that and all the injuries they had. And yet they still managed to be undefeated and be national champions. I have to give them a shout out.
I mean, that's Candy. Do you think you see him going back to the NFL?
I'm torn, because I don't think the NCAA is done with him, and I don't know that he likes the NCAA, but I also think he likes to mold the kids. And I just saw the pure joy in his interviews last night, and like the fact that his brother was there at the game, and his mom and his dad, and they were all supporting him. And Michigan's going to write a check and pretty much say, hey, whatever you want, we're going to give it to you. So
yeah, they offered him $125 million for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's there, but I think you're right. Like, is there going to be some consequences like what Pete Carroll was looking at? Is that going to be his transition back to the NFL to avoid that? Or is he going to stick it out and, just kind of have to deal with the consequences of everything? Because like there's coaches like Dawn Staley where I think she's really like in her niche. Like I think she's in the right spot for her, where I think she makes the impact that matters most to her. Do I think she could coach anywhere else? Yes. Cause like, I think that her skill transcends gender. I think that she absolutely could coach in the NBA, but like her niche is molding those young women, like you were saying. So I'm very interested to see what happens. We had Black Monday yesterday, and there were some more firings today as well. So there's 6-7 teams that need a coach right now. So, I mean, it could be interesting to see what happens.
Definitely be interesting to see. And, all of what you feel about Michigan, you set that aside. As a young adult, very impressionable age of your life, you've got these young men that were able to set aside all the adversity that they were hearing and still stay focused with razor mentality of what the end goal was. So that in itself is a tribute to how he has coached these young men, set up them for success, and they were able to do success whether or not he was on the sideline. And that that you have to acknowledge, regardless of your viewpoint of what the scandals or the allegations have been, and your thoughts of him as a person. You have to respect what he was able to pull off this year with those young men.
For sure.
Well, and a shout out to Washington. They played a good game. I mean, their quarterback, you have to give him credit. He played hurt all that game. Like at the end, he was wincing in pain if you watched it. And you just feel sad. Let's face it, those most of those football players were together for 6 years. Because of the COVID years, they got extra time together. And some of them came back because they said they had unfinished business, like Michigan. They're like, we had unfinished business, and that's the whole reason they came back.
Right.
So wasn't there a gentleman or a player on the Washington, and I want to say defense, that lost his dad this year, and he played a game on his mom and dad, like right after he passed away was their anniversary, and I believe the game was even in California, and if I remember correctly, he's from Hawaii, and his mom was there, and he had a lights out game and played in honor of his dad. Am I about right or in the right ballpark on that?
You are, Carrie. Yeah, it was Zion. Zion, I believe. I think it's a Samoan or Polynesian name. I'm trying to remember it. I think it's Zion Tupaloe. And then
I think you're about right there.
there's another hyphenated name at the end of that. But yes, good memory, Carrie. Yeah. So I mean that's devastating
Like we
experience.
all four of us can relate to that. And then
Yes.
so I think that's probably when I kind of feel kind of hooked my fandom to Washington at that point because of that particular event.
I was rooting for Michigan because they beat my team. And it would be better to be beat by the national champion, but no,
absolutely.
They definitely deserve to win that Texas game. So, what a season for them, for both teams. And, moving on, we'll see who goes to the pros.
Well, we've seen a lot already start declaring for the draft. And speaking of that, we have now figured out who will be at the top of the draft, but also we've also determined who's going to be in the playoff run. So, Megan, let's go ahead and let you bring to the four light and shout out to your team and talk about what you see and what your next steps are with the Dallas Cowboys.
So Candy and my team are going to face off Sunday, I believe. And this is a matchup that we are very well acquainted with in the postseason, oftentimes in this round. And, we've been on the losing side every single time. We've always had to go up and play in the cold. Play Green Bay, play in Lambeau. A lot of times it's snowing. We've had the ice bowl. We've had all kinds of things going on up there at Lambeau. But you know what? This year we're going to be in Jerry's world, and it feels a little different. I'm not going to sit there and say that we're not taking the Packers serious, because that would be dumb. That would be incredibly dumb. But we're going to have to put some pressure on them. That's where, obviously their hole is in their defense. There are some bright spots on their offense. Obviously, Jordan Love had a great year. I think that our defense can handle them. I'm not sure if their defense can handle our offense. So hoping that it is a game where it's down to the last couple of minutes. It's competitive. I want one of those type of games like we had in Philadelphia, comes down to maybe one possession. I want it to be that competitive.
Absolutely. So, Andy, you want to counter?
First time we've been a 2 seed since 1994, y'all.
That's exciting for you all.
Yeah. Let's just put it out there. All of the pressure on this game is on Dallas because Green Bay was not expected to be in the playoffs. We have a new quarterback. I mean, not new, but this is his first year playing for the whole season. So they were not expected to go anywhere because let's face it, Rodgers left us. He was a 4-time MVP. And here we have a new quarterback coming in, put him in there, and let's see what happens. So the pressure is not on him to outdo Dallas. So the question is, will Dallas self-destruct like sometimes they do? And let's face it, if you watch the Packers-Bears game, the Packers actually self-destructed and hurt themselves. Even though we won the game, we made very stupid mistakes, and knowing the game, part of it is we are the youngest team to ever make the playoffs in the NFL. I think our age is 25.1. So we're the youngest team ever. It'll be interesting to see how nerves play, like how the beginning of the game is, whether we're more nervous because we've never been there and they're so young and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see if we get any of our other players back, like whether Christian Watson, he's been dealing with the hamstring issue all year. So whether he's well enough that he can go or not, we'll find out. But I think I hope it's a good, like Megan said, I hope it's a really good game. Like, sometimes in these first round playoffs, you see a lot of blowouts, and that's not what I like. I like a really competitive game, and I'm hoping that'll be the case. And let's face it, it has an interesting storyline because Mike McCarthy is the coach for Dallas, but he used to be coaching the Green Bay Packers as well. Right. So I think this first round, there is some interesting matchups. Like Detroit is playing against Matthew Stafford, their ex-quarterback. So
Right.
the matchups I just thought were very interesting how they worked out and panned out.
Well, speaking of past and present meeting up, Tyreek will actually have a chance to come into Arrowhead and play Miami to dethrone the Chiefs. And yes, go Chiefs. I want to make everyone clear and understand. My Chiefs have not been like they have in previous years. That does not change my love for the team or what I see is they can do this. I am very glad that they're getting to play one game at home. The cold may play a benefit for the Chiefs in the fact that Miami is obviously not the same temperature as it will be in Kansas City. There's already Miami people talking about how it's unfair for the Dolphins to travel and have to play in such a cold and they need to be in a neutral spot. Cry me a river, because I can't tell you how many times we've heard that type of story line and
win home field advantage then.
I never understood that, Carrie, because it's almost as if, well, they had a tough time playing in the rain and the mud. Well, the other team plays in the rain and the mud too.
Right.
Well, I mean, we could go back. I mean, there are 32 teams that have 1,000 stories about how, well, if that team had this advantage because of this. I'm like, well, you're right, because it was really impressive how quickly they changed the fields for the opposing teams to play on.
Well, and for the longest, nobody wanted to come down to Texas and play for the Rangers because of the heat, because we didn't have any air conditioning in our stadium. And I mean, thank God we do now. Thank you. But and that humidity and that heat in Dallas is real, because it'll be 100% humidity there. Like, nobody wants to play in that. So you're going to have advantages and disadvantages every single place that you go. So it's just part of it. If you don't like it, then you should win home field advantage, because let me tell you, as a Dallas fan, home field advantage is very important for us this season. Obviously, it's been very important in our lack of playoff runs as well. Like, having to go to Lambeau is what killed us every time, because we weren't used to playing in that weather.
Well, that time of year, absolutely.
It's part of it. It's part of it.
And injuries are a part of the game as well. And I think Dolphins fans are just ready-made to make excuses, Carrie, for the ass whooping that's about to go down, because their back end of their defense is
gone.
Really
it's gone. I think you do have to give them, not necessarily it as an excuse, but it is factual, the amount of players that they have out. Like, I don't think that you tailor-made that for an excuse, because obviously it's next man up. And if that's not the case, then you should have backup players that are better, ready, in place. But it doesn't always work out like that. But they do have a very large number of injuries.
Okay, and just for this, let's cue in the Tampa Bay Chiefs Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And we had like the fourth string O-line. I mean, I'm exaggerating for a comedy effect, but we had no one to protect Patrick,
and he
because
had one
we were
ankle.
decimated by injury. So
yeah, he had one ankle at the time. So I mean, it just is what it is. Yeah,
it is what it is, and you cannot. When you start making excuses for one team, you've got 31 other teams that you get to say that same thing for. So I choose not to make excuses. I would be very pleased if we have a win this Saturday night. Uniquely, we are the first and only team that will be game that will be played on Peacock live stream only.
That's the only one that I have. I'm
kind of not really pleased with that decision, because you are shutting out a lot of football fans to drive your business, and I don't like it. I'm not buying it. I'm going to be watching with someone that does.
There was a connection. No, I have a free streaming that I can get you, Carrie. Don't do that. I do have an account with Peacock now. And I usually keep it active during soccer season. And so that is kind of interesting to me that they're having it on Peacock, and the NFL is trying to expand over to Europe. So that is kind of an interesting connection there. Maybe that's why they did that, because they are thinking about moving the Jags to England. We have some games in Germany. So maybe that's that connection there, because Peacock carries soccer, international soccer. All
Okay, thank you. Because I was like, someone said, was it to make the Taylor Swift fans pay for a Peacock subscription so they can see if Taylor shows up? I mean, valid observation.
And what an awesome comment right there, because the Browns are on their 5th quarterback this season. Get over it.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, that it goes back to, the reason why I love this game and have since I was a little girl is any given Sunday, now it's Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever, but it's at any given point, your chess match is changed by one play.
Right.
One play can change the entire outlook of the game. I mean, we know that when Patrick doesn't hit, look at MVS, look at Tony. Oh, please don't. But anyway, those one plays starts a series of events that set off and how the game changes at that given point. So, that's what I love about this.
Carrie. I mean, you talk about chain reaction. I mean, no one's ever going to forget what happened in the Superdome. I mean, that completely changed the outlook of a whole season.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So there's a lot of fun and interesting lines out there, storylines.
So what do we think about the Texans and the Browns? But I mean, because I know Deshaun's not playing, but
Joe Flacco is like lights out, it feels like.
Right. 38 years old, was sitting on the couch and got a call, just jumped up ready. The legend of Average Joe. That's what I like to call it.
You're right, Megan. It feels like D'Amico Ryans has to come up with a better game plan than Kevin does, because Cleveland could just run the ball down your throat as well.
And they've been decimated.
They're both nominated for Coach of the Year. So, who
absolutely
comes out on top of that?
The winner of the game.
Thank you. So everybody, I think everybody would be in agreement. CJ Stroud is likely the rookie of the year, right?
Yeah. Far away.
Led his team. That was, I mean, we all thought it would be
years.
They
were below
a we all thought there would be years before they would come back. And, it just goes, Carrie, it just goes to your point about, kind of decision making. I mean, the Carolina Panthers set their sights on Bryce Young, and they let the 6'4" stud who could see over his offensive line and could throw a dime, and it changes the Texans' fortunes for the next decade.
Yeah.
Do we think that a quarterback of that size in Bryce can be successful? Because obviously Kyler and him are the same size, right? And Kyler has had some success. He has gone to the playoffs, but he's also been injured every single season. Do we think Bryce can have any success?
That's a great question. And is his success because of not the right type of coaching for him? Or is it because the way the NFL is set up and designed he is at a disadvantage because of his height?
I mean, I would say he's at a disadvantage, but there are certain systems that he could possibly do well in. Obviously, like I said, Arizona has figured some of it out, but not without many problems, But even when you get somebody that is the same size as CJ, like when they had Cam there in Carolina, he was getting hit all the time, big hits. And the refs weren't calling it because they were like, oh, he's big. It's okay. It's fine. He's fine. He's a big guy. He can take it. And they did the same thing with Roethlisberger. Like, he just did not get the same type of personal foul calls that everybody else was getting. So, I think obviously that can go either way, but being in Charlotte, that's not the place.
it was not a good fit. And yes, I was going to say that Puka Nakua does definitely have a run at the Rookie of the Year. I think that it will fall to CJ because he was the key component of their success, where Puka Nakua was able to enhance and provide additional depth to a team that was not far from having this type of success as well, if that makes any kind of sense.
Try and say that name 5 times fast.
No, thank you.
You know,
I would revert to initials.
do you guys think if the Rams do beat the Lions that they kind of can go on a heater here, depending on?
I actually have the Rams beating Detroit. And this is not, let me say, because I have a lot of friends that are Detroit fans, this is not a knock to Detroit in one little bit. I think you're headed in the right direction. I think you finally have somebody that is the right coach to be in Detroit, because Detroit
Absolutely.
is a very specific place. Same thing with the Lakers. Like, it takes a specific type of person to be able to deal with the media that's there in LA. Well, it takes a very specific type of person to be in Philadelphia or Detroit, and that's working class people. Dan Campbell is the right person for that job. So
Bite him in the kneecaps.
Who says that? Dan Campbell. But I think they have the right quarterback as well. Like, that trade, I really feel like worked out for both of them. The difference maker for me is one, Detroit's defense. It still is pretty atrocious. Lots of work to be done there, but their offense, great. And as much as I like Dan, he gambles, he takes chances. And as we know, sometimes that pays off and sometimes it doesn't. And so I could see him gambling and it not working out. I do think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be very competitive because there's so much emotion on both sides of things. But Jared is the one with something to prove, not Matt. Matt's coming home. He's been successful. They wished him well. Many Lions fans were supporting him when he won his championship. But Jared has something to prove. His team gave up on him. They built him, his coach. They built that offense around Jared. He played when he was injured, like a couple of weeks after he had surgery in the playoffs, and they quit on him. So he has a lot to prove. But the difference with Detroit and LA right now, injuries. They had a couple of players get injured in that last game that they played. They didn't sit their starters in a game that didn't matter. So once again, a gamble from a coach that didn't pay off. And LA is getting healthy at the exact right time to win this game. Not a deep playoff run, but to win this game.
And Megan, it's interesting you brought up the other city of brotherly love. What the hell? Chicks, what the hell happened to Nick Sirianni? What the hell happened there?
What I see is what happened to the Chiefs also happened. We had half a blow where they had a double punch and losing coordinators. I think we've had. I'm sitting in the middle of Philadelphia fans right now, and we've even had this discussion several times. I have not watched two teams at the pinnacle, and they were at their pinnacle the day of the Super Bowl. That's why we had such an enjoyable game for everyone. The outcome was only going to be so favorable for half the people that were watching it, right? So either way, someone was going to have to walk away with the L. But the teams were operating like a fine-tuned oiled machine. Mm-hmm. Fast forward 9 months, and you could barely get the training wheels off the tricycle or the bicycle to ride with two wheels. I think it has a lot to do with the coordinators and the way that the new ones have stepped in to pick up. I would like to say that.
Yikes.
Well, I mean, not wrong. Bitterly left. Not wrong.
I'm a Cowboys fan, and as much as the rivalry is there, I definitely respect what Philly and Sirianni have built over there. Jalen, once again, the right person for the job. Injuries, and it's not a built-in excuse for them, but injuries have played a role in that too. And I think it's going to play a role in this Tampa Bay matchup too. Tampa Bay has just found a way this season. It kind of like Green Bay, like they just kind of found a way somehow, some way. And I think Baker is incredibly tough. And I think you talk about a point to prove. I think he's showing Cleveland right now, and everybody else that doubted him, even LA, like y'all could have kept him as a backup, probably paid him that money, and he might have stayed. Instead, he's over here and he's in the playoffs with a different team, and he is very integral to that team as well. So, whereas we thought, oh, the fact that he was not known for his arm was going to be out the league before you know it. Well, turns out he can run your offense regardless. He's not going to have that Aaron Rodgers arm accuracy. He's not going to have that, but he can run your offense. He can manage it, and in good fashion, and he cares and he has heart. And they're at home. I think that's going to be the big difference maker in that matchup.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And what other matchup did we have, ladies?
The Bills and the Steelers.
Oh yeah. I don't see the Steelers.
Did we flip a coin?
No, I don't see the Steelers winning. No.
But then you still have Tomlin as the coach, and I swear to goodness, everything could be. They could be against everything, and Tomlin is going to come out smelling like a rose. So, that's what Steelers have going for them, and we'll end it with that. But they did lose TJ. Is he even back yet, or do we know if he's going to be back?
Nope.
He's not back. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, the thing about the Bills, though, which Bills team is going to show up?
Well, which Steelers team?
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I mean, this year they're both.
Well, we'll see what that matchup looks like. They're one of the Saturday games.
I think you're right, Megan. I think if the Bills are going to have to, if they go make a Super Bowl run, Josh Allen has to outplay Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and that's a tall order, even for him.
The only way anybody's beating the Ravens in the AFC, the only way there's some other team coming out of the AFC, in my opinion, is they got to have that rush defense. It's got to be firing on all cylinders. They have to shut down that run game, because even though Lamar has worked on his passing considerably this season, and shout out to him for that, because I know he had a lot of criticism coming his way. But it not only, if you can shut down his mobility and then also the running backs, I think you can get a win, maybe. But that's the only way you're doing that.
I'm going to quote our famous Raiders fan that we all love, Mr. Phil Jones. He and I were having a conversation, and he capitalized the entire Ravens team right now. They are playing with the God mode, cheat mode.
Oh, right.
They have unlocked God mode, and they have figured out the cheat code to do it. They are coming together at the right time, in the right place, and as much as, they deserve it. Lamar deserves it. He has had the success, and he needs that pinnacle. He deserves to be in that moment. The Chiefs don't have it. I mean, I could scheme a team against the Chiefs, and I've never coached. So put two on Kelsey, make faces at the wide receivers, and stop Pacheco, and you're done. We're done. Okay, so yeah, I think the Ravens are minus a meteor strike or something really egregious like that. We're going to see the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that kind of wraps up the NFL.
It does. Sean, is there anything in the best NBA that you would like to bring to light, or in with on your happy note, or a piece of advice that you would like to bring to the table?
Well, actually, you know what, Carrie? Jennifer shared with me a great article about how Mark Cuban has decided to share the wealth with Mavs employees, and just to kind of put a point on it, that's extremely refreshing, especially with
Yes.
the cost of living in this world that we have now. Not
Right.
to mention, I mean, think about today trying to, gather the gumption to walk in to a boss's office and say, you need to pay me more. That's
Right.
the right. So for Cuban to be magnanimous like this and say, yeah, you guys get 35 million in bonuses.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. It was truly magnanimous, chicks, and kudos to him
Mhm.
because that is somebody who obviously knows what it's like to struggle. I mean, yeah, he hasn't struggled for a while, but he did struggle. Before he was a billionaire, I think he said he had $26 in his bank account.
Goodness.
Yeah. So I think that's fantastic. And, it just goes to show that, if you work hard in life, just depends on where you are, but ultimately you could find reward because you could have eventually a boss like Mark Cuban or a former boss, excuse me.
And he's definitely one of the ones that paid his employees longer during COVID. And so those bonuses are based on how long they've been with the company. And I was really impressed with this story. It was
So you're,
something because it's 10% of the sale he's kicking back to his employees. And we live in a not post COVID, but I mean post shutdown from COVID world, and so many businesses went under. And if you're above water, you're not giving out bonuses. Like it's just not happening right now. So I thought that was a really great story.
so side note, you're telling me that it's not a good time to apply to be on the Maverick staff because I wouldn't get that bonus.
No, ma'am. It would be some fun basketball to watch.
Day late and a dollar short, Carrie.
That's my life story right there in 5 words.
That's funny. All right. Well, we're so glad you got to come on, Sean. It's been an awesome show.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Love
guys.
to you, Sean. We're always here. And as always, friends, if you have any ideas that you would like for us to discuss, anything that you would like for us to topic, our inbox is always open. We appreciate the love and support every time that you show up. It means more than we can express. And we wish that you all have a peaceful and safe week. Please be careful out there in all the different weather storms affecting our North America right now.
For sure.
Yep. Thank you, everybody.
See y'all next week.
Bye-bye.